will do it. Max Holloway.
I told you guys, all these guys is cupcakes. I look forward to the new flavor, but any of them can get it. I like cupcakes, and I'm gonna eat them all, baby.
Max Holloway. Welcome to UFC Unfiltered.
Please tell me that's on video. I've never been happier.
I'm made for a fucking podcast. That's dangerous. Listen to me, we're at it.
Welcome to UFC Unfiltered. Jim Norton here. Matt is, as you know, he flew to Abu Dhabi to be on Fight Island and Phoenix Carnevale. Thank you so much for joining us. We always love when you're available and when you can come on.
I'm so excited because this is such a good freaking card coming up. So I'm excited to talk about this card, and I definitely am excited to talk to our guests today. And Jim, I've missed you.
I've missed you too. We haven't had you on in a while.
Yeah, so this is fun.
We just found out that we have Brett Okamoto, who's a frequent guest who we love when he comes on. And we have Max Holloway, who is trying to regain the belt against Volkanovski as the co-main event. And that was literally just booked, and I was getting my flat tire fixed because I'm not man enough to do it myself. So I always have to go and get real men to fix my vehicle. So I'm glad I made it back in time. And Matt, by the way, to update the listeners, there's a big thing about Matt's flight. How was he going to get there? Was he going to be stuck in coach for 18 hours? Unfortunately, he was in business class. So he had a great flight. And as Matt's friend, it disappointed me a lot because I wanted Matt to be stuck in coach.
Oh my God, I remember the coach days, being in the middle suck seat. I'm tiny and I can't deal with the middle suck seat. So I can't imagine anybody who has like shoulders sitting in the middle suck seat.
No, but you wonder now with COVID, are they going to change the way it works? Like every time you walk into a deli, there's like a big piece of plastic, and I almost love it. Like they're going to have to redesign seats to give people a little room. And you know what they'll finally maybe do? Put up dividers in between us, split the armrest in the middle. We each get a plastic divider. Like, so you can only have half the armrest. You can't wrestle for it with somebody else. Isn't that awesome? I would be so happy if they did that.
I'm unhappy about the illnesses, but I am very happy about the space.
Yeah.
We went to see Michael Che, did stuff on a parking lot, and everybody's out in this parking lot listening to him do stand-up. And you had to draw a circle around yourself and sit in this little circle, in this little bubble. And I was like, I'm loving this. Because I'm short, so I can never see anything. So now nobody's in front of me.
Right.
So it works out for me.
And how was the show? I love Michael.
He's so good, man.
Isn't he great?
He's just so good. I think he's underrated, but I think after all this, he's definitely going to be on the come up and stuff. I think he's just dope. So that's been fun. Good.
And the card is, bad luck, unfortunately. We just talked to Frankie Edgar a couple of days ago, and unfortunately, Pedro Munoz, tests positive for COVID. We lost Gilbert Burns.
Is it like everyone from Florida? I feel like it's Mike Brown. It's literally all of Florida. Dean, this morning, I text Dean. He has COVID. He said he feels fine, but he tested positive.
Florida, how do I say this delicately? They've handled it abominably. So what's happening is, let's just be honest. Florida, we love you. You've done a terrible job with this. It's going through the roof in a few places. One of the only places doing well is New York.
Yeah.
Because I think Cuomo threatened a couple of places and said, hey, if you don't practice this, you're going to lose your liquor license when it started to reopen. I think he frightened. But then you look at Fire Island. People are doing what they want, 4th of July. So we'll see how it is in 2 weeks, if it's good. But, it's unfortunate. But you're right. All Florida. I didn't even think of that. All those guys are from Florida. And our guest, ready to go. I like that.
Yeah.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, buddy.
What's up, Max?
Yeah,
Max, I literally have not seen you since you beat Cub Swanson. That was, you're not going to remember this, but that was the first time I interviewed you. And we did a face-off, and you said that I scared you. So I was flattered.
Yeah? I remember. So perfect. The last time I totally just dismantled that fight and finished it. So maybe this is the future.
How are you liking this press run you're doing? Like, because I know with COVID, it's got everybody doing everything differently, and you don't have to go from location to location. You're just basically doing most of it from your room. So does that make this part of it a little bit easier?
Yeah, I've been liking it. I've been liking this whole how we do this media, virtual media. You know, it's just hard right over here because like I gotta plan my sleeping schedule a certain time because we're fighting.
Yeah.
I'm probably making the walk around 7:45 to 8 a.m.
Yeah.
So here Sunday morning, and that's just the hardest part. But you know, with all this media and stuff, it's been all right. You know, it comes with the territory. I see a lot of people complain without, you know, like I said, I to put it in perspective, I did like 300 something interviews the last year for my fights and stuff. So I did all this is like it comes with the territory. People keep forgetting that media is a part of it.
But it's nice to take a break, though.
There's a lot of guys that don't want to do the interviews. And I'm almost like, well, how do you expect people to get invested in you and follow your fights if you're not out ever doing interviews? A lot of guys just don't want to do them.
Yeah. I mean, I got a great team behind me. I got a great guy on my team that he helps us. We be smart. We know what interviews to do or when we should do it. And you know that helps because you still gotta get out there. But you know, some guys like how you said, some guys don't want to do them because they just keep wanting. They did it so much at one time that they just get over it. Well, you should just kind of be smart and like, you know, pick and choose your battles.
Yeah. And you said that I'm sure everyone's asking you the question if you did your training camp on Zoom. So we have to ask about that. Now, there was no sparring at all, or how did you manage that? And how did you manage to keep yourself feeling? Because I find it difficult just to broadcast over Zoom consistently. How did you find training over Zoom?
I I I found it good, you know, like you said, like I'll just go down to my garage. It was super easy, you know, driving. I'd be in my garage talking to my coaches, training with my coaches. All our classes got moved to online classes. That's why. So like we had to like my coach made a video of us how to make a dummy for like jujitsu class and stuff. So that was pretty sick, and we just did it. You know, you figure it out, you get it done, and at the end of the day, I just can't wait. You know, even with the sparring, like I felt real good about the sparring. You know, it's the first time I did spar ever in a camp. I usually love sparring. I usually always complain to my coaches about sparring, but I feel good. I feel great. You know, I got no new injuries from it. Of course, there's that nagging injuries too yet because they're just around, but no new injuries. Usually when
Right.
I get hurt is because I'm doing live sparring or live goals. So it's I've been super blessed this camp.
It's funny because like when you do Zoom workouts, you know, you're so tempted to cheat. I've been doing a lot of the Zoom workouts, teaching them and also doing them. And occasionally be like burpee, and I'll just be like hide off camera, push up, and I'm just like, you know, hiding off camera. How did you keep yourself like super sharp and motivated, you know, even though you don't have the sort of energy from your teammates?
Yeah. It was funny because one of our Zoom classes that we did, my coach, like I had my video off at first, and he was like, "Yeah, everybody turn your videos on, so I know you guys not sitting on the couch and watching TV, acting like you guys is checking in." So, we had the video on, you know. We had the video sideways so it could actually see everything. So couldn't really cheat, and he would check us if he was. He's like, "What are you doing, Max?" or whatever, and he records the whole session. So he would actually go back and you know and tell us what we did or try and check everybody who was in the class and try to help them through that.
And
So I
Mike
have
Perry,
to
I
ask you.
think.
Oh, sorry. Go
Oh,
ahead.
sorry, Phoenix. Yeah, and Mike Perry, I think, said that he didn't do a lot of sparring this last camp either. And I think for him, he said it kind of made him hungry for it. And he certainly looked good against Mickey Gall. So, do you feel that in any way that's going to change your mentality, not having any of that when you're going into this? I mean, maybe even for the better.
Yeah, you know, like he said, like that. I guess that's the perfect way to see it. You know, I didn't get to punch someone in the face for quite a while, so we're a few days out of the weekend where I get to finally punch someone in the face. So you know, life's looking up right now.
I think the benefit of it is because of the lack of impact, you have less, you know, inflammation, which allows you to heal. But I know the question that everybody's going to have is it not sparring affect your timing? And you're such a veteran. So how do you feel about that question? Because I know that's something that everybody's going to think.
Yeah, my timing fell on, I like I said, I got my coaches up here now. I got one of my partners up here, and we do movement stuff, and I feel great. My eyes feel great, my timing feel great. My decision making still feels great. So I just can't wait, I can't wait that, everybody can talk, everybody can say this and that and question, but just make sure you tune in live on pay-per-view, ESPN Plus. It's gonna be a show.
And Volkanovski, how do you feel going into this rematch? And how do you think he's handling being the one with the kind of the target on his back instead of being the one coming for someone?
Um, you know, uh, I feel great. I feel great. I can't wait to go out there and do my thing. And I don't know how he feels. I think so. If you watch his interviews, if you've been watching interviews, he like I think so. He feel like the target on his back is huge. He feels like he's a contender or something. And I'm like, I don't know what he's going on. And he keeps saying stuff about me, like he's mad at me because I feel a certain way or I'm saying things, but I never know opinions hurt people's feelings. So at the end of the day, it is what it is, and can't wait to see that guy in the octagon. It's gonna be a super fun night.
I think maybe like he feels that he has more to prove because he's the newer in that division, even though he's done so well to get to the top. You kind of beat more of the names, so to speak. So you're like another name for him to really cement the win.
Mm.
His questions are like when we come with the leg kicks. So I don't know, it was the 80 some odd leg kicks and
Mm.
they weren't hurting you, so you were kind of ignoring them. Now you have
Mm.
to look into the judge's decision by the fact that they were counting, those leg kicks.
Mm.
So without giving away too much strategy, what do you do with the leg kicks now? Do you think he's going to have the same approach?
I don't know. I don't know. They're him and their team. They like to talk. They like to talk about certain stuff or saying certain things, but I don't know. They have a formula that worked, so I don't know how far they would try to stray away from that formula. So at the end of the day, we get to find out here in a couple of days. I don't really focus on what he's gonna do. I focus on what we're doing, what we're gonna do on our side, what I gotta do to win, and I just can't wait. It's gonna be something special come this weekend.
How did you feel after the last fight? Did it take a while to get your headspace back to where you wanted it, or how was that for you? I'm sure it was hard for a little while. And what was your process to kind of get back to just saying, okay, it's time to move on and get it back?
I was fine. I was fine right after the fight. It is what it is. Personally, I thought I did win the fight, and at the end of the day, there's only three people's opinions that mattered, and they had it the other way. And I can't be mad at that. That's my fault to leave it in the judge's hands. How people say like don't leave it. I know it's hard, but it's my fault to letting it get there. And I was just whatever. I got five of the belts at home. I got five titles in my closet at home. This guy could beat me two more times. He still wouldn't have as much titles as me. Like I don't care about the titles. I've been telling people I was a champion before I was a champion. When I was 3-3 in the UFC, like the belt don't define me. And at the end of the day, it didn't really hurt me at all, and mentally or anything. Like it's life goes on. I still gotta be a father. I still had things to be at home that I had to do at home to be there. I wasn't gonna let this thing stuff, and I knew the opportunity was gonna come again. If we was gonna work hard for it to get a title shot again, or if we was gonna get a rematch. And this guy called me out, so we're here now, and I can't wait.
And how are you handling the whole the virus and the lockdown? Like, are you a germ phobic person by nature, or are you normally not someone who's not that concerned about it? Because a lot of guys went crazy when this happened because germs are something they worry about anyway.
Yeah. I'm not a big germaphobe, but at the end of the day, it's like it wasn't about me. It's about my son. It's about my mom, my grandma. Like it was about the people who it could get affected and actually, not be able to fight it. So that's what I was thinking. So I did the smart thing. We went on lockdown. Um, I didn't see people for quite a while. Like our lockdown was pretty long in Hawaii, and it was just being smart. It wasn't for myself though. It's for the people around me, all my loved ones. If I did something stupid and reckless and got someone I love sick, and they ended up passing, then that you gotta live with that. That's something that I don't know if I would be able to get over.
is the weight cut easier or harder during quarantine? Because I've been home like master chef every day. Like, I think I learned how to cook during the quarantine. How has it been for you?
It's been great for me. The weight been actually, this is the best my weight ever been in my life, to be honest. Uh my girlfriend, she's a professional surfer, and their tour got canceled because of the whole pandemic and stuff. So she been home, and she been chefing it up for me, and just cooking like healthy stuff for me, and like super healthy but tasty stuff. So my weight been good. My weight been or like super good. You know, I'm a sweets person, and every time I got a sweet around her or something, she slapped that right out my hand. So at the end of the day, she was a big help for it.
What do you eat as a sweet replacement? Like if there's something you want and you're just craving it, what will you have instead that will kind of take some of the urge?
I actually wouldn't have nothing. I mean, she would try to tell me like, "Oh, eat fruits, like whatever," but I'll be like, "That's not the same." So when she's not looking, I might get in like a couple of chocolate covered macadamia nuts or something, and just go on my way. Not go too crazy. Like before, I'd go crazy, but she keep me in hold. She keep me in check, and the food she'd make was like super delicious, and the portion she'd make was like just perfect. So I fell in love with Buddha bowls. Now I don't know if you guys know what Buddha bowls is, but
What's that?
it's a type of protein with like chickpeas and avocado, and I always ate it with rice. And she'd like chef up with a mushroom and onion, so cooked mushroom and onion, so it's super good. Like I could eat that every day. I told her.
Now, does she eat the same thing with you? Because there's nothing worse than when you're trying to eat healthy and the person next to you is eating a sub sandwich. So, or is she eating pretty healthy while you are eating healthy as well?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, she is. Yeah, she is. She even got my son eating better. So life's good. Yeah. There wasn't one that she cook and she could eat something bad, you know. And we might have cheat days, you know, like on the weekends or something. If we ate pretty good, we'd like all make cinnamon rolls together or cookies. So it's like the balance is super good.
Max, what's really interesting is that, you cracked the Jose Aldo code twice. He has been beaten before, but I wonder if you're looking at the Yan fight, just for fun, you watching it. What are your thoughts on that matchup to begin with?
I'm a big Jose Aldo fan, and everybody knows this. I'm not gonna lie. That guy is the one that he's one of my idols. You know, he's the one that gave me like, oh man, kickboxers and strikers can actually do this, and we can run this game. So at the end of the day, but Peter Yan is an animal, and he's young. But we see what happens. You know, I'm rooting for Aldo because at the end of the day, it's like this guy can really like top off his career, with another belt, and then I can't think of anybody else who deserves it. So I think Aldo can do it. He looks super, super good. You know, he looks super hungry. He looked super good in December, like when everybody was questioning the weight cut for him. So I'm just excited for the dude. You know, I hope he goes out there, he figures it out, he
Yeah.
put it all together, and he can get out with the belt.
Do you think he was robbed with that Moraes fight?
I mean, I hate speaking on decisions or whatever because it is what it is. But I thought he did enough. You know, I'm not a judge. That's not my job. But I thought he did enough. You know, he was in the back watching it. I got to watch most of it because then we'd warm up, sit down, watch it. Warm up, sit down, watch it. So I was tripping. I was like, oh yeah, I guarantee. Like when it's done, I was like looking away. I was like, oh, you can turn the audio off because we thought he won, and then we was looking at TV with the audio off, and they rose Morales' hand. And I was like, oh wow, okay, well, that's cool.
Yeah, I guess they saw it that way. Yeah, it is. Sometimes I watch a fight and I'll watch the judging, and I'm like, one guy has a 30, a 27, and the other guy's a 30-27 the other way, and you're like, there's no way both of these guys are watching the same fight, seeing the same thing, and coming to totally opposite conclusions. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, for sure. It's just you don't know what they're looking for. That's why I don't think so. There's like a class that you can go to for a judging class or something, which I think you should because one judge guy might be a wrestler, so he might favor a wrestler. You know what I mean? Like the wrestler might shoot 10 times in one round and get one and hold you down for a minute, and then he wins the fight. Like that's just because the guy's a wrestler. And then you got a boxer guy who a boxing a judge who might like boxers and strikers. Like, okay, this guy hit him with with 100 jabs in 2.5 minutes, and then he gets taken down for 2.5 minutes, and the boxer might be like, you know what, I think so the jabs is way more effective. It's just, I think so. It's just the way there's no real cut way or real cutthroat way of or classes that judges can go. So I think so that's still one thing that we're all figuring out, and I hope so it can. We me and my team, we went to Kansas City, and we watched one of the Invicta shows with the open scoring, and I thought it was pretty cool. Me personally, I would like to know. I would ask when the judge is, or what is the score, so so you're not guessing anymore. But we see what happens. It's different environments, the rules, and there's all kind of things that go into it. So
if that was the case for the first Volkanovski fight, do you think if you had the open decisions, the open judging, and you knew what was going on round one, round two, would that have changed the way you fought at all for that first fight?
I mean, yeah, we would have put it together. I think so. How it was going in the second round or third round, and we found out what the score was round by round. I would have been like, oh man, like, okay, well, they're favoring this a little bit, so we gotta get on it, But yeah, for sure. I think so. It helps, it can either break a fighter or make a fighter. There's some, when I went to the Invicta, there are some fighters that the coach wasn't telling them, because I guess so they just didn't wanna know. And then there's other fighters that, I want to know, so they was telling them. So I think so it'd be cool.
You raised a good point too, before we let you go, Max, because you answered the question I wanted to ask, which was about open scoring. Is that a wrestling guy is going to give probably more credence to somebody shooting for takedowns, and a guy who likes striking. So if you're watching, if you have open scoring, and you can kind of see along almost with what the judges are looking for, like in a strike zone in baseball, a lot of times this guy calls inside strikes, this guy calls a low ball. The batters know going in, this is kind of this guy's strike zone. So knowing what the judges are kind of leaning towards would definitely help guys. And I'm willing as a fan to not have the suspense of who's winning. I would much rather have the guys know what's happening from round to round.
Yeah. For sure. I mean, some betting guys would probably be mad about it, that's betting live on it. But at the end of the day, it's exactly what you said. I think so. A lot of people would like to know, but we see what happens. When we went to the Invicta, the crowd wasn't the same. The crowd wasn't as big as a UFC fight. So I can only imagine if like you're in a 20,000 seater and then they put up a score and like people don't deal with it and they're like, "Bah!" and screaming. Yeah. So there's a bunch of things that goes into it. So, but I would like it to get its fair shake. I think so. It'd be pretty cool to see it, at least once.
Are we expecting, because of the scoring and how you feel about it in the first fight, are we expecting for you to look for the knockout so that there are no judges' decisions come Saturday night?
Yeah.
Or Saturday morning?
Yeah, Saturday morning. Sunday morning. Yeah.
Sunday morning.
Yeah, I can't wait, man. I've been telling everybody, like, if you're trying to get someone to watch mixed martial arts, like get them into UFC, make sure they tune in live on pay-per-view and watch the co-main event of Fight Island. And it's gonna be something special. I just can't wait to fight, like I said, with this whole pandemic going on or whatever, and we don't know when we was gonna fight. We didn't know what, you see all sports shutting down, and then UFC figured out a way to make it safe for us. We're on this island now. Doomsday in the dunes, Teddy Atlas would say, and it's pretty sick. I can't wait. This is a part of history, and I get to go out. We got all eyes on us. We're the only sports that's moving. People are gonna be watching this, and I can't wait to go out there and do my thing.
Yeah.
Before you, can I just before you? So I only allow myself to not be a journalist when I watch a couple people fight. And you're one of those people, Max. I like scream at the TV. My dog's name is Max, so the dog is like, "What the?" And I want to say it's because of the person that you are. You're popular for all the right reasons.
Thank you.
Recently, I heard about you being inspired by Dustin Poirier and donating the proceeds from your fight kit for I think the food banks in Hawaii.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to say that that's really freaking cool. And I love the fact that you're also trying to encourage athletes, especially fighters, to be more like that. So thank
Yeah.
you, Max.
No, thank you. Yeah, like what you said, like yeah, I'll be auctioning off my whole fight kit, whatever. We got to give one piece to the UFC, and then everything else is gonna be there. My gloves and my shorts is guaranteed gonna be a part of it. I don't know what I'm gonna give the UFC yet, a shirt or a jacket probably, but
give them your cup. Give the UFC the cup.
I think I gotta write my name on the cup then to say like I wear it and I washed it up. Yeah, and yeah, ever since this pandemic happened, me and my team, we went from like maybe like 60 to 50% of doing charity work to like almost 95% now of doing charity work. Like all we've been focusing on was charity work, and like in Hawaii, it's an all-time high. Unemployment is an all-time high at 40%, and it's just crazy, And I got food on my table. So the way that I can give back to my people, and I know people would want to help me is this, and donate, and auction is off, and donating every single penny is going straight to the food bank of Hawaii, because like it's hard out there, it's hard to live in Hawaii already, and then with this whole and expensive. I'm sure it's kind of like New York, how expensive New York is. Hawaii is
Yeah.
like the same thing. In Hawaii, we depend on tourism, and there is nowhere to be found right now in the pandemic. So this is the least I can do. This is the least I can do for them, and hopefully this the auction goes super well, and we can put some food on tables for some families in dear need.
Yep. Well, good luck, Max. And you're a nice guy, and we love talking to you, and love watching you fight. And it'll be interesting to see how Volkanovski handles the pressure now of having to defend against you. And good luck. It's going to be an incredible fight. The whole card is great. The main event is great, but the co-main could have just as easily been a main event. You guys know that. You and Alex, that could be a main event on any card. So have a good fight. We'll talk to you on the other side of it. Okay.
Thank you, guys. You guys have a good one. You guys be safe.
All right. Take care,
Man,
Max. Good talking to you.
Bye.
Yeah, Phoenix, I'm glad you mentioned that. I'd forgotten that. It's in our notes, and I had totally forgotten that he's doing that, which is he's such a nice guy. You can't not like Max Holloway. He's just one of the nicest guys fighting.
I love Volkanovski too. So this is like one of those matchups where I'm going to be like biting my nails off. But, it's just, he said something, my kickboxing background, I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. He was saying that when Volkanovski was hitting him, you could hear the slap for the leg kicks, and when it's the slap, they don't hurt as much, which is kind of true. Like when you get the slap, it's usually the instep. It doesn't mean that they don't score, but it was smart by Volkanovski because it disrupts your rhythm. And you know that like when Max keeps you at the end of his punches and he lets his hands go. So my thought is he's either going to like step into those leg kicks and throw really hard shots, or he's going to have to check them, because that's what Volkanovski likes to do. Or does he completely change it up, go low, go high? I mean, there's so many things about this matchup that are interesting to me. And normally, rematch, whatever. But with the two of them, it's like, yeah, rematch, sure, okay. Nobody complains.
Yeah, nobody complains. Any fight that Max takes, because again, like you said, he's a veteran. He's fought everybody. He's beat almost everybody. I mean, losing to Poirier, he had, I think, gone up in weight for that. So it's one of those things where it was still a good fight. There's no disgrace in losing to Poirier. So it'll be interesting to see how he rebounds. And the main event, Masvidal stepping in against Usman. You wonder if Masvidal was keeping himself in any kind of shape. Like, he is a smart guy, and he must know that there might be travel problems. There might be problems with people testing positive for COVID, like Gilbert Burns did. There might be some type of an injury. Like, he knows that this shit happens. So you wonder if he was kind of close to being ready anyway.
He said basically like they were about to fight when the negotiations fell through. So it wasn't like he never thought Usman wasn't on his radar and he didn't know how to train for him. He was training for him. Then the negotiations fell through. He kind of pulled back, wasn't at the gym so much, but he was still training, helping out other people fight. And, and then this came up. So really it's going to be about cutting the weight, dealing with the travel, the sleep deprivation they're going to go through, because, when with hormones, you peak at different times. If you're used to training the same time every day, come 9-10 o'clock, I'm an old lady, I'm going to sleep. You know what I'm saying? So there's a couple adjustments he's going to have to make. Those things are in question. I don't think he's not going to be in shape, and I don't think he's not going to be mentally prepared. I mean, that's kind of his MO. Remember, his career started off with him just finding out about a fight in a McDonald's parking lot, and then it's like he did all the backyard brawls. That's how he started.
Yeah.
So I think a little bit of Masvidal gets off on the type of adventure that this is, but it's still Kamaru Usman.
Yeah, I mean, Usman, to me, I give him definitely an advantage because, first of all, he's had a full camp, and he's just such an exhausting, smothering guy. And against Colby, the stand-up was very good.
Very good.
I was very impressed with how well. It was so funny how those guys. I want to say there's no takedowns, or there was one in like late in the fourth or the fifth round.
Yeah.
I mean, it was totally fought standing. I give Masvidal a striking edge though. But I think that Usman just pushing you against the cage and wearing you down, I think that's very difficult for anybody, especially without a camp. So I definitely give him the advantage because of the type of fighter he is.
Yeah, but he's doing it without Mikey Brown because Mikey Brown tested positive and can't go with him. And listen, you know, Masvidal's a veteran. What a coach really does is keep your head clear and kind of tell you what's going on. But it's not necessarily that he doesn't need him, but he can do it without him. It's just spiritually that kind of sucks. Like, this is your person, and they're not there to share that experience with you. But, you know, he toughs it out and he does it without him. And that's what or maybe they do it through fucking FaceTime. Like, who knows?
It's funny as we're talking, of course I can't take the call, but that was my therapist. I go to therapy and I was supposed to do it Tuesday, but for some reason we had to do it today because of scheduling. And, I gave the UFC the wrong times as to what time my appointment was. It was my fault. So I'm obviously not going anywhere. Just stay here, talk to you. But my therapist probably thinks that I hung myself because I'm not answering the phone. He's probably panicking.
He'll get all these text messages. Are you okay? Is everything fine?
Yeah. I'm going to send back a crying emoji, really mess him up. So yeah, we have Brett Okamoto's shortly. Brett was pliable with us today, which was very nice. I think we were supposed to have him at 12:30 and then they moved him back because we booked Max. So hopefully we'll have Brett soon. And also, a fight that's really getting overlooked because it's not a championship fight is Andrade against Rose Namajunas, the rematch, which I've been to tell you something. Rose was doing very well in that first round, and Weili Zhang beat Andrade with striking in that first. So I think she's vulnerable to strikes. And if Rose can do the same thing and not make a crazy mistake again, I think she can beat her.
Well, Weili is just a lot more powerful than Rose. And it's not that Andrade wasn't getting hurt. She says she wasn't, but Weili just used Muay Thai clinch. So she was just hitting her with knees and clinched her up, which is what you have to do against somebody who's going to try to out wrestle you. You have to be able to control the clinch exchanges and stuff like that. So I think Weili is definitely just more of the power puncher. Rose is very smart and calculated, but I would be afraid of Andrade grabbing me for the obvious reasons. So yeah, like Andrade is like a pit bull. She's a scary fighter as well. So it's a great matchup. It's always fun when Rose comes back.
I love her.
Yeah, it's hard not to like her.
Her against Weili Zhang, I want to see too. That's the fight that I really would love to see. And I'm hoping, again, if Andrade wins, then forget it's off the table for now. But if Rose does win the fight, that may be the next matchup.
Yeah, more than likely. I think everybody wants to put Rose back in the mix for going for the championship again. I just feel like Weili is extremely hard to beat. I mean, that to me, that was fight of the year. Her and Jędrzejczyk. Who did you have as like the fighter of the year?
What's that?
Who do you think really is going to wind up winning like fight of the year?
I mean, it's hard to say because are you talking about from 2019 or 2020?
Oh God, 2020 was like how many? I don't know.
I don't remember the exact date of that fight. What was that early this year? Or was that the end of last year?
I think it was right before the quarantine.
Okay, so you say it is 2020. So again, I lose track. 2025. It's hard to say because it depends on what Gaethje does against Khabib when they get that together. Him against Ferguson was an absolutely amazing fight. What was the fight?
Last Poirier fight could go for contendership for that.
Poirier Hooker was fucking incredible. But so far for me, Gaethje, I think again, I'm very partial to leg kicks. I love leg kicks. That's why I always loved Jose Aldo so much, even though he stopped doing it for whatever reason and concentrated much more. He became much more of a boxer in the last couple of years, and I really don't know why. Other people have noticed it, and I have not been able to get
remember he
concrete
fractured
answer.
his foot. Didn't he fracture his foot, or was that JDS? No, not JDS. Dos Anjos, Rafael Dos Anjos. Somebody fractured their foot before a fight with Conor, and I always confuse if it was Jose Aldo or.
Dos Anjos wound up not fighting Conor, so maybe that was it.
Yeah, I'm confusing.
RDA.
I'm confusing
But
the
you know
two,
what?
but I don't know why he stopped kicking.
Hold on.
Yeah, I think it was RDA.
Because it was he had a dancer's fracture, I guess they call it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but Aldo had the one fight with Conor, the 13 or 12 seconds, if you listen to Conor, knockout. And then there was a chance. I think Dos Anjos was next. And then it was going to, and then when he couldn't fight, they offered it to Aldo and he turned it down because he didn't have a camp. And again, I'll never tell a guy what to do in that realm. But I always thought like, that's a rough one to turn down because that chance does not come around often. Unless you were totally out of shape. But you look at, again, like Masvidal, they offered on 10 days and he's like, yeah, I'll do it because you don't get a shot to fight a championship fight that often. But again, who knows? Oh, we got Brett ready. Okay, great. Brett, how you doing?
Hey, what's up, guys?
Okay, you can hear us. All right, good.
The Zoom world that we live in now.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm always nervous, though, for watching somebody on their own computer because I would never want people on Zoom looking over my shoulder while I'm on my computer. It'd be an ugly scenario. So I'm glad you weren't doing anything that we shouldn't have known about.
You got to know when the cameras are on, Jim.
Yeah, you really do.
Brett, you have to do so much stuff through Zoom. Me as well. I actually shot a cheesecake commercial for Philadelphia Cheesecake in my house.
Did you?
During the quarantine? Yeah. The production sent over all the equipment and like we had a production team via Zoom like help us shoot this commercial in our house. So I wonder for you, how have you adjusted to the Zoom lifestyle?
I mean, you got no other choice, right? You just got to do it. I miss having like in-person conversations. I feel like my interviews are better when you can like be face to face with someone, you know? But,
yeah.
What are you going to do? Can't be face to face with someone. A lot of these people that I've been interviewing have been at this hotel, like right down the street from my house in Vegas.
Yeah.
Like the hotel they're quarantining in is literally like 2 minutes away from my house, but I have to sit here and talk to them from my room.
Isn't it weird too? Because you're like, I agree with you. I do so many in-person interviews and we have guys in studio. And then there's a part of me that's like, I can't wait to do that. And then there's a part of me that's like, I don't care if I never do that again. I love just sitting in the house. Like I go back and forth with it because there's something about Zoom that I'm really used to at this point.
Yeah, like I said, you got no choice. You got to get used to it. I think it's going to be like this for a while.
I kind of feel like it sucks because, like, for example, you have this one great interview with Masvidal where you're walking through his old neighborhood and he's like looking up at like the apartment that he used to live at. And you got to take him back to his humble beginnings. Yeah. You know what I mean? And now we're talking about this championship crazy matchup that's happening Saturday. It's supposed to happen, but then contracts, blah, blah, blah. And now here we are. For you as a journalist who this guy's telling you about his humble beginnings and then this thing is happening Saturday, what are your thoughts on like just watching the evolution of an athlete and interviewing him kind of sporadically throughout that time?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of like at least the role that I see myself playing in for ESPN, like yeah, I do like the fight night interviews and I do interviews in person and all that. But some of my favorite stuff that I do is, like you said, you know, taking them to like a situation where it's not even my questions that's getting them to talk, it's the atmosphere that they're in, you know, because when you go back to an apartment building that Jorge hadn't been to actually since he had moved out of there as a kid. So when him going back there for the very first time in probably over 10 years, I mean, that's just, you can't replicate that. You can't recreate that any other way than going there with him. So that sucks. Mm-hmm. I wish that I could still do that. It's probably the favorite part of my job, but it's not going to happen for a little bit.
And as per your Fight Island song, which Matt Serra's obsessed with, by the way,
he's not here. By the way, how is he? I mean, he's been talking about this thing.
He's on Fight Island. That's where he is. He's with Dana.
I know, but we got to get him on. I mean, we got to get him on from Fight Island, right?
Doesn't that show you the genius of Fight On? Because now that COVID is spiking in Florida and everywhere in the U.S. except like New York and New Jersey, it's going through the roof. Fight Island is going to be legitimately needed for quite a while. We thought like, things are getting better. Maybe they're going to need this probably for the next 6 months at least.
It's cool to see it come to fruition. I mean, it's not the Fight Island that I had sang about and fantasized about, in that song. It's not Caribbean and palm trees and Mai Tais on the beach, but it's what we need it to be right now in the sport. It's like a place where you can go and safely have fights. I mean, you guys see the films coming out of that, and I'm sure Matt has, maybe he's told you a little bit about it. These guys wearing complete suits and the amount of testing that they have to go through, like this, it's not only safe, but it's also giving a lot of people confidence that it's safe, which is equally as important right now, right? So yeah, I think they're going to be using that thing more than once this year.
We had 2 main events. I mean, Edgar Munoz. I mean Munoz test positive, and Gilbert. So I mean, the fact is the UFC has taken it very, very seriously, and it doesn't matter who the fighter is. Or was Frankie the co-main? I don't remember. Was he the co-main?
Yeah.
He was co-main. But just the fact that every fighter has to go through it, and it doesn't matter what the fight is. Jacare lost the fight, which I think with Uriah Hall. So yeah, they are keeping it safe, and that's got to give people confidence when certain fighters are pulled, because they know, hey, everybody's going through it, and there's no one falling between the cracks.
Yeah, and it's worked out for them that some of us were. There were a lot of people out there that were like, hey, the UFC is trying to come back too quickly, but by coming back pretty quickly when they did in May, they've been able to now establish this track record of saying, because I remember how we all felt when Jacare tested positive. I mean, I personally kind of freaked out. I was like, oh man, like this is just not going to happen. Things like these are going to happen and the sport's going to shut down again. But they've proven that, we're going to have positive tests. We're going to then isolate those individuals and everything's going to be safe. We're going to keep moving. And so now you have a situation where they lost their main event of a major pay-per-view. And we kind of were just like, yeah, that's going to happen. So it's obvious. It's even just the track record where they were able to come back, and it was great that they could come back and we all wanted them to come back. But now it's also makes it easier to now keep going forward as they continue to get positive tests, because that's not going to stop. That's going to continue to happen.
Absolutely.
It's weird, but one thing I always think of is if anybody could deal with that, it would be combat sports, because in other sports, a whole team doesn't get sick or injured. But in combat sports, there's always things that come up in fights. You fail a drug test, you break your arm, you whatever. So they're always been used to, hey, we have to rearrange things. We've got to improvise. We've got to be flexible. We've got to have like understudy, so to speak. So I feel like if anybody could deal with this, it would be them.
Yeah, I actually wrote that in a story that this week, where it's like anybody who's kind of watching MMA who hasn't really watched MMA previously, they're not really hardcore fans. They're probably like, oh man, this is wild that they can be doing this in pandemic, and this guy Jorge Masvidal step up on 6 days notice. And to your point, it's kind of like, actually, this happens when there's not a pandemic. This happens all the time, actually, in MMA. So, but it's cool that there's a spotlight on the sport right now, and people are seeing that, hey, Kamaru Usman, even though he trained for someone completely different, is like, yep, let's go. Jorge Masvidal is like, yeah, I'll take my first title shot on 6 days notice. And the UFC is able to put it all together and make it happen. I mean, that's something that really makes the sport fascinating. It's fun when these types of storylines come up.
Well, Masvidal is so smart because he knows that title shots don't come around very often. And when something happens, like the negotiations, they originally fell through, and then here it comes, a couple of months later, he's smart enough to know, I got to take, like, it's crazy to not take this, because you don't know what's going to happen. What are the delays? Who's going to have a great fight and get bumped ahead of you in the line? So I think he was really smart to take it. And Usman is such a dangerous fight, especially with no camp.
Yeah. What I thought was funny was I read this recently that Usman is kind of torturing Dana, saying, well, when I beat Masvidal, that makes me have the BMF belt. And Dana's like, no, the BMF belt is not on the line. So I think it's funny. So I wonder, Brett, in your experience, who is in the category of BMF that would be a possible contender for the next BMF belt, if that's going to happen?
I mean, I gotta go with the company answer here, but it's true that all of these guys are BMFs that step into this,
right?
Into this sport. But yeah, I mean, the reason BMF worked so well with Masvidal and Nate was because they are like the BMFs of the BMFs. I mean, Masvidal just showing it right now. Ready to take this fight on 6 days, and he's been fighting in backyards his whole life. The interview, about him growing up in that apartment and fighting people in the parking lot, like he's been a lifelong BMF. I thought Cowboy Cerrone,
Cowboy, yes,
Cowboy would fall into that. The Diaz brothers, of course.
Justin Gaethje.
Gaethje, but the weight. I mean, I guess they wouldn't fight because of the weight. But yeah, as far as the way he fights, absolutely.
And I love how Stephen Thompson has turned it around into he's the NMF.
Yeah.
Nice.
Nicer. So he's saying afterwards it'll be the BMF versus the NMF. That was a damn good line by Stephen.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah. But that's one of the things that I believe Masvidal said, that if he did win the belt, that he would go after Thompson because he'd want the rematch, and then possibly Nate. But I love the interview you did with Gilbert Burns, because he was saying that if Masvidal wins, it's like a circus. You know, what do you think is the perspective on that? Do you agree?
I think he's absolutely right. Yeah. I mean, and I can't blame Jorge. You know, Jorge is how many fights does Jorge have left? Maybe he's got a ton, but he's also at the point in his career where it's like, can't fault the guy for, I mean, as much as I would like to hear Jorge Masvidal say, I'm going to go through each and every one of these contenders at welterweight, you know, no, he wants the big fights. Of course he does. So, and Gilbert Burns, nothing against him. Gilbert Burns might be the best welterweight in the world. I mean, the way he's looked, he might be. But if you're Jorge Masvidal, you win on Fight Island, you're not calling out Gilbert Burns. You're talking about Conor McGregor. You're talking about Nate Diaz. I do think if Masvidal wins, like, I'm sitting here today, I think that would be his next fight. I do think he'd fight Nate Diaz, and we'd see Nate get a chance to win a welterweight championship.
Yeah, and I think you're right. If not him, then Conor, because I've thought that Conor, he seemed to indicate that he wanted to fight at 170 again. Maybe he just didn't want to cut down to 155. I don't know, but I think that would be a great fight too. It would be, with Masvidal and him would be a massive fight. But they may want to save that one, like they're talking about saving Costa and Adesanya for when there's actually a crowd.
Yeah, maybe. But you got to think, if you're Conor and you would love to a chance to win a third belt, right? You go move up to welterweight, you win a third belt. But who would you rather fight if you're Conor and with his skill set? Usman, the big giant wrestler, or Jorge, who's going to stand and strike with you?
Sure,
so,
yeah, you want Jorge.
So I think
you want Jorge,
wins,
and then you want
we might hear
BMF
Conor be a
belt.
little bit more loud about getting the title shot.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think anybody really wants to have to deal with Usman. I mean, and again, we talked before you were on too about Covington and how, and they're both such solid wrestlers, and then they wind up just fighting standing up. There might have been one takedown in the entire fight. I would love to see, as much as I don't really like Colby as much as I like other fighters, he's great. And I like watching him fight. And sometimes it's fun to have a guy, an anti-hero to root against too. That makes it, you're invested in it a little bit more mentally. So I would love to see Colby when he's, if he's not healed yet. He's still in the mix because he lost a very close fight. It's another guy in the division that I would love to see. I would love to see him and Conor possibly fight, even though that may not be a big enough name for Conor to want, but I would still love to see it.
Oh yeah, I regardless of what you think of Colby, you got to say that he's been pretty entertaining to watch fight. I mean, when he fought RDA, that was, I mean, even if you're not much of a wrestling guy, just the pace that he puts on guys, the pressure pace. I love watching Colby Covington fight, and he was darn close to win. I mean, he gave Usman all he could handle in that fight. So yeah, he's still in the picture. Absolutely.
What do you think happened to Tyron Woodley too? Like, he's literally had, and he's 10 rounds in a row that I think he has lost. I think he 250, 45 fights. Tyron has had 10 bad rounds in a row, which for him, he was so unstoppable for so long. You wonder, is it focusing on stuff outside? Maybe it becomes hard not to focus on stuff when life gets good. I don't know what happens.
Yeah.
But something is going on with him. And he may say it's not, but it's obvious that something is going on with him.
Yeah. And I mean, I would, I lean on coaches and other fighters to tell me what they're seeing when it comes to this type of question. But for me, it just seems like what you just said, how committed is he? It sounds like he's committed. He went to Thailand, to train for this last fight. And I thought he came into the last one against Gilbert Burns knowing that he really, really needed to win after, a little bit of inactivity and losing to Usman the way in which he did. And then he still couldn't get anything going. But I do think that Tyron's game was prefaced on doing a few things really well. And some of those things that he did well required being a better wrestler than the other guy, getting the guy down, and also having a lot of speed. And Tyron is he's still got the speed, I think, but as you get older, speed starts to leave you. And so if your entire game is based on, if you can't get a guy down and you're not quicker than him to beat him to the punch, and we saw that Gilbert was just as fast as he was when they fought, then Tyron has a tough time, you know. And another knock on Tyron when he was a champion is that he conserved energy, which was smart for him in a lot of different ways. But then that means if you start to get in a hole, like if you don't have the energy to really put a pace on somebody, like Gilbert Burns was just outpacing him. Kamaru Usman was just outpacing him. So if he just can't match their volume, then it's just going to be hard to steal back rounds. And that's what we saw in those two fights.
Well, yeah, I think it's overthinking too. I think when your plan gets shut down and you can't immediately improv to plan B, he would overthink and freeze. And by the time you freeze and don't do something, that person's done 3 things to you. So I think some of it is like, oh, I can't do what I wanted to do, and now I'm frozen. I think that happens to him a lot.
And let's also remember the 2 guys he lost to are damn good.
Yeah,
Usman and Burns are very, very, very good. So, you know, him losing 10 rounds to those guys, it's not the Tyron that we're used to. I mean, thinking about Tyron losing 10 rounds to anybody was hard a year ago, but he's lost 10 rounds to 2 of maybe the 2 best welterweights in the world.
It was more seeing his face. I think it was the Burns fight in between the first and second round. And that's maybe the look that frozen, like he looked lost. And it's like, he's such a great fighter. It seems like, you know, we all lose confidence. Something mental happened where he just like, oh, fuck, I can't do it. And he may tell me I'm crazy, but there was something on the look in his face. It looked like he was very, very concerned. We're feeling very, very unconfident.
And who knows if Tyron, I don't think he is. And this is not, you know, looked as a negative. At least I'm not saying it to be, but maybe Tyron's not one of those guys who wants to just fight his whole life. You know, right. Maybe he's not one of those guys that you're going to like a Cowboy or a BJ Penn where we're literally, you know, going to have to drag them away from the arena.
Yeah.
You know, maybe he's reaching a point in his life where he still loves it. He still loves the training. I hear that from guys all the time. Like, I love to train, but I don't really love getting in a fight anymore. And maybe Tyron is getting to that point in his career.
All right. Well, look, man, we love talking to you. Obviously, thank you for coming on, and we'll talk to you after these fights, I'm sure.
Of course. I'll see you guys on Zoom again soon.
Yeah.
The next song. When is the next?
Yeah. When's the next single?
Working on it. Yeah. Maybe I'll get inspired by something that happens this weekend, and I'll drop in a Fight Island 2 or
or another island, Staten Island.
I say you. Oh, Staten Island. I say you do a rap version this time.
Okay, that could be interesting. Got it.
All right, cool.
Good talking to you, Brett. Take care.
Bye.
Listen, the fights are this Saturday night at what time? It's regular time, 8 o'clock, right? Yeah.
Early prelims at 6, ESPN Plus. Prelims at 8, main event at 10 for us. And for them, it's like 6 o'clock in the morning, which is nuts. But yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Phoenix. You're always so great to have you on. And I love having you as a co-host and as a guest or whatever it is you come on as.
I appreciate it. It's fun. It's good to talk to you. Good to talk some MMA. And especially since this is a great card. This is a loaded card this weekend.
Yeah. And we'll talk right after the fights. I'm not sure when Matt comes back. So we'll talk again very, very soon. Enjoy the fight this Saturday. Other fights coming up next Wednesday to talk about. So have a good weekend, everybody, and enjoy the fights. 8 o'clock, Usman versus Masvidal.
All right, go call your therapist back.
I'm going to.
Later, guys.
Bye. Take care, Phoenix.
Bye.
See you guys later. Thanks a lot.